screen any moment. I do indeed record these sessions. It will be included in a link to a YouTube channel where you can watch this and any other session that I have posted over the last almost a year now. You guys are going to get a recap that kind of sums up a little bit of what we're talking about, and we'll, again, jump you to this recording so you can use it for future reference. Today, as the slide you are all looking at says, this is a InTouch 103 session. We're going to be focusing specifically on the marketing center and how you can manipulate some of the pieces in there to better represent your brand and connect with your consumers. Before we get started, I only have one little housekeeping tip. I do ask that everybody please remain muted through the entirety of the session. If you do have any questions, I will open up the floor at the end of our class to allow any questions to be asked. Or if you're worried about forgetting, feel free to note them down in the chat, which again will pop up on either side of my head when you open it up. Outside of that, I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can get everyone out of here on time. This class is predominantly a live demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen for a moment as I pull up the web browser. And let's reshare. I'm just going to give it a minute in case there's any lag. I know some of you might be dealing with some pretty nutty winds that are going on right now, especially if you're in the Santa Cruz County area. Let's go ahead. Everyone should be looking at CB Desk. We are talking about, of course, the InTouch Marketing Center, which is the CRM partner included in your ASP. InTouch, I'm not going to really go over all of the basics, but you're going to go, before we dive into the marketing center, it's always important to refresh. It's the beginning of the year, and as you're taking count of everything that you're utilizing, you want to go in and update any information in My Account, or at least see if there's any information in the My Account section that needs to be updated. I'm going to try and zoom in just a little bit, make this as easy to see as I can. It will let me. So you've got all of this information is important because it's what's going to generate for the automated footer that happens at the bottom of basically every piece of digital collateral that you'll send out of the platform. So display name, make sure that is accurate. Your reply to email should be whatever email you actively use for business. Things that you send out of this system will show up in the user's inbox with this CRM email, and that's purely for tracking purposes. That's how InTouch gets the data on open rates, bounces, dead emails, all of that kind of good stuff that you can leverage when you're sending out things like newsletters or campaigns come from this. If you make sure to update the reply to email, so if you hit edit, you're going to see the external email field open up. I use my Coldwell Banker email, so I switch it to that external email. And in this way, if anybody wants to reply to any of the messages I'm sending out, like if you, for an example, as an agent, not only for marketing purposes, but if you're sending out listing alerts or any kind of market updates to your consumers, this is important to make sure they can update and get in touch with you on whatever email you are using for business. Your call to action is if you're working with your field marketing specialist on branding and you've come up with a value proposition or slogan or call to action for your business, this is where that would go. Again, it will appear on any footer for any collateral that you're building in this system. You'll see an example of that a little bit later when we dive into the actual marketing center. Make sure your license number is here. If you are part of a team, you can denote that, but it really doesn't do anything specific in this system. Make sure your phone numbers are accurate. Make sure the default, all of these are checked on. I, for example, do not have an iPhone, so FaceTime is not something I can do. You want to make sure these are accurate because, again, these contact methods will show up on your website. Even though we're not talking about your website while you're here, it's important to make sure these things are all in place while you're editing. Your website, make sure your domain is displayed appropriately. Again, your address will show up. And then that's it as far as what you need to focus on here from the Marketing Center outside of the very bottom. So I just scrolled all the way to the bottom and we're looking at social media options. This will make live clickable links, again, on the footer for anything you are sending out of this system. Be sure to only include social media channels that you are actively using. There's nothing more harmful to your brand, for example, to have a LinkedIn account posted here and then your consumer goes to it and they see that you haven't even been there in 3 years. To add, all you have to do is hit add social media account, choose whatever account you are looking for, and then you would just paste the URL for your channel. This is obviously my website, but you guys get the idea. Now, moving on, that's all you're going to need to do in the account feature. Although you do want to make sure whatever changes you make, you hit that save button. You'll know that the system has held your changes because you'll see your screen flash and this little message up top, information profile updated successfully. Now, the rest of the session, we're going to focus on this icon here, marketing. When you click on marketing, the first section you will see is Marketing Center. There is a handful of options that are available in this system. Market Leader, the company that develops InTouch, retails this to consumers beyond our organization, right? We have a partnership. That's how you guys get access to this through your ASP. But there is stuff in here specifically on the print side that you might have to pay for. So I'm not going to cover any of that stuff. I'm going to cover the stuff that you guys readily have access to. And the first thing that is very handy, and is easily accessible and jumps out to all of the consumers that you load into your contacts is the newsletter. I'm going to click on newsletter, and as you can see, it is a monthly email with tons of great real estate content that will get preloaded, and it can be a set it and forget it system. But the agents that have the most success with this that I'm working with are ones that come in here, prepare something, you start to tailor something to your audience that starts to mean something to them. Specifically, if let's say in Q1, you're targeting a specific marketplace, you can make sure that you're including information relevant to the people you're trying to attract that live in those areas or want to live in those areas you're trying to conduct business with. As you can see, you've got a running calendar that'll show everything for the last 12 months that's been sent out. And if you click, you can preview any old email to see what was sent out for that specific newsletter. And as you can see, there's all kinds of great random tidbits. And I like to tell agents these are great starters for something that can become very much a part of your ongoing marketing plan. So the first thing you're going to see is my next one. Now, all of these dates are going to be different depending on when your account was created. So when you click on newsletter and you come to this menu, you'll see they always go out the same day, but that day may not be the 7th for you. So for me, I've still got a handful of time left to edit my new one. It's already up here and ready to go. The first thing you can do is change the newsletter. I highly recommend, again, based on what you think is going to be valuable to your consumer. If you have things you want to workshop, talk with your FMS about how these things fit into your marketing plan and how you can make your newsletter something a little bit bigger. But for me, I would call this, let's say I call this, Anuj's monthly newsletter, because I want to keep it simple. And I know that the people that are getting this will prefer to know exactly what this is. So that's what I'm doing. Now, all you have to do to edit this, because like I said, you can click on the image to preview what's going to be here. And in February, we've got a home decor look out for 2021, buying land, a little bit of information about that and about easements. And then, the information about how to reach you. So if all I want to do is set it and forget it, I'm happy with what it is, I'm going to hit personalize. And you're going to see my information automatically populate along with my footer. Now, if you wanted to edit this and begin to elaborate on it and make it look like, if you're in my region, if you wanted it to look like the emails I send you on Mondays and Fridays, this is where this little editing bar comes in handy in this space that we're working with. I'm actually going to deep dive into this in a different section. But let's say, for this example, all we want to do is set it and forget it. So all I'm going to do is hit save. This is my monthly newsletter, February 2021. This is only facing the user. So you are the only one that sees what you're saving this. So for categorical purposes and for reference purposes, this is the best title. So I know that this was when I come back and look in my library later, I know this was my monthly newsletter from February of 2021. I'm just going to hit save, and you'll see my design being saved. Now that it's saved, I can go ahead and exit. And this will be ready to roll. I can hit save and continue and move on. You can manage the contacts that are receiving your newsletter right from this section. I apologize if you hear a leaf blower going off, but hopefully that'll stop soon. But I digress. You can add contacts from right here if you've already got them grouped, or add individual contacts by just adding their name and clicking add or remove. And then you can save those changes. Or you can add individuals to your newsletter from your contact section. If you guys take any classes on contacts in InTouch, they'll go over adding campaigns like your newsletter by just clicking check, and it will activate it perpetually. But going back into our marketing center. So let's say you've done your newsletter and now you want to do something a little bit bigger, or you want to work on editing things in more detail. How will we manage that? That's where stuff for the video and email, can't just select that. The video and email marketing comes in handy. This is where you can find all of the templates that are being made by the InTouch and Studio team that get uploaded in here, and you'll find new ones pop in almost every couple of weeks. But it's also going to be where you can take existing templates and create your own. So when I click on email and video templates, you're going to see the trending ones right out of the gate. So you've got January newsletters. Yesterday was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So there's a email created about that. And that's a great one to jump with. So let's say I want to edit that. I am going to go ahead and click, and it will open up, and you'll see a personalize and a compose email button. Like you can imagine with the newsletter, here is your preview with the grayed out, insert me section right at the bottom. Hitting personalize is going to make all of this yours, and you can send it out as is. I'm just going to go back to that search real quick, just because as you're looking, you've got all of these emails, and we're looking at email and video. You can also search print, but like I said, some of those might come at a cost, so I'm not going to really talk about them. I just do want to acknowledge that's there. You can also search things by keyword. So I can hit COVID, for example, and could see anything related to COVID-19, either personal warm contact or doing business during this time. I can exit out. You can also look at listing enabled emails only by checking that filter. So it works like any basic search option that you have in any space where you're trying to, any shop space, for example. I'm going to go in here. Let's say we want to edit this. I'm going to go in and hit personalize. And we can look at as you can see, the standard option already brings in all of my information, but you can use the editor up here to elaborate or add more. Let's say you want to add additional text. You can simply change. There's a handful of fonts that you can add with. If you wanted to separate this section from another, you can go ahead and click. So you've got, font editor, you've got font sizes and some basic word editing options, indents, line height, and text alignment if you want it centered, right, justified, etc. Hitting this horizontal line feature will allow you to segment sections of your email, and you've got a gap between the two sections. So if I wanted to maybe instead separate the intro message and say, here's a great website about Dr. King, and you wanted to add a link, you've got here add remove link options. Just like you would see in any standard HTML editor, you could copy the whole message if you would like the whole message to be a link. You could select just website, and then all you have to do is paste whatever website you would like to share. Let's say, again, just for ease of our class, I'm just going to copy this link, paste, and I usually like to open in a new window. This way, especially on actual computers, it opens up a little bit cleaner for your consumers, but there's really very minimal user difference that they're going to see on their end. So you really don't have to fuss with that. Beyond that, there's nothing you need to do to add links. If you would like to remove a link, it's just as easy as you can see. It automatically comes up highlighted. You can click the broken chain and it will break. You can also, as you can see below the font editor, you've got bold, italic, underline, all standard options. Plus, you can play with text color, background color behind the text. There's nothing too crazy you can do here because at the end of the day, you don't need to make anything too elaborate. What we're looking for here, again, is how easy can you communicate something to your consumer and how effective you are at engaging them in something that's either, I like to tell agents, one of two categories. Does it drive awareness about your brand and keep your consumer aware about you and your business? Or does it engage them in some way, whether it's that warm way or a business contact point? If you would like to add images to these emails, that's just as simple as hitting insert image, and you can upload images right from your computer. This is a touching point, just like anything you are sending out to consumers. Make sure you are either expressing, if an image is not yours, that you are not the copyright holder of it. So for example, when I send stuff out, I'm usually using an image that is relevant to whatever website or organization, if it's a charity, that I am linking to. So there's really never a problem there. If you're using images, for example, that you're taking, there's never any problem there. If you're using something for branding purposes, like additional logos or things like that, just make sure that you have any permission that you're using for anything that's supposed to be associated with your business. If you're using this as a platform to share things to others, that's one thing. This is mostly concerning things that you're going to advertise about you, your business, or your brand. But other than that, all you have to do is grab whatever image you would like, hit upload. You can add them to categories, as you can see here. If you don't hit that, they just go uncategorized into an image library that you can manage in InTouch. But any image that you would like to include, you would just upload and then select. Again, for time purposes, let's just pretend it was this one. If you would like to adjust the size, you just grab the corners If you would like to link this to something, just like you did with the text, you don't have to highlight, but you want to make sure it's selected, and then you can drop a link into an image to make sure if you wanted that image to link to something, and then you can put click on image below just to make sure the point gets driven home. And it's the same concept for adding a video. If I wanted to add a YouTube video or a video that you've uploaded to from your own channel, or the only other places outside of YouTube you can do are Vimeo. But if you're talking with your marketing specialist about creating YouTube as a part of your brand, you can go ahead and grab anything you have, and all you have to do is grab the share link. So when you're on any YouTube video, you're going to click the share button, copy this link, and then come right back into InTouch. You're going to click, again, if you want to add a video, and to delete something, it's just as easy as selecting it, hitting the delete button, or right-clicking and cut. Let's say we want to add that video, insert video. We're going to go ahead and paste the link I copied from here and hit submit. And just like that, a video can be added to the system. If I want to make it a little bit bigger, you can go ahead and do that. You can add any relevant text. And once you're done with any of these, there are a couple of other options that I didn't touch over, but they're pretty self-explanatory because, again, they're relevant to any word processor you've ever used. If you've got an article, there's also an article library if you would like to add. Bam, now there's something about capital gains. This is a fun system that you can come in, really make yours, and whatever you want to make into an email, you can. Now that I'm done, I can hit preview to see what this will look like. I can send a test, I can preview desktop, I can preview mobile, you can look at it, portrait. If I wanted to see what it looks like with showcase properties, I actually don't have an MLS account, but you'll see the showcase properties that you've selected in the listing section, again, relevant to one of the earlier classes for InTouch. That's where you can include those if this is relevant to business. Now you want to save it. You can save it, again, whatever title is going to be best for you and your library purposes. And you can exit it, and you'll see that these buttons, the personalized button is now changed to edit. This is now updated to reflect what you have done. You can hit publish to web and share to grab a handy link. And as you can imagine, this link will go ahead and open your email in web form. So you can now include this in multiple stretches across your marketing plan. For example, if you're doing something on your Instagram and you want to link to this, you can say, hey, on a story, say the link is going to be in my bio. Feel free to check out whatever I'm talking about this week. This is a great way. And again, if you'd like to get these in your email, go ahead and go to my website. The call to action could be to go to my website, sign up for my newsletter if you would like to receive these weekly in your mailbox. Otherwise, I will update you week to week or every couple of weeks on my social media channels, whenever I think it's relevant to you. Again, whatever that strategy is for you and your business, this is a great way to incorporate it. You can also quick share to a couple of places if you're already logged in, like Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google+, or you can build out an email to send. All you have to do is hit that compose email button. You'll see it populate right in here. Now you don't want to make any edits to the email. If you want to make any edits to the email, you're going to go back to the other side and edit. Here you can just change the subject and then add whoever you would like this email to go to. Save those changes and send. And just like that, your email gets sent. Everything you edit and everything you save, I'm going to go back into the search option. Actually, let's go back into the marketing center. Everything you save will be in this My Designs library. So again, we're in the marketing center. So we edited something from the email and video template space. And we also edited a newsletter. So now if we go to my designs, I'm going to see both that MLK message I edited as well as a monthly newsletter. And then I also have my templates because I update them every week and save them as a new week. So all I can do when I make my next one is come in here. I can already see what's been created, and then I can edit and update the existing template that I've made out of one of the ones that was originally here, and utilize this to stay in touch with my sphere. I save it as whatever the new date is. This will still exist in your library for history purposes, plus you'll have the updated one to move forward with. So you can really incorporate this and think about how you're strategizing your digital communication to best engage with and stay in front of your consumer. And that's really it for the marketing center. You've got the newsletter, you've got the sorry, there's a little bit of a lag happening here. So I'm going to go ahead and just reopen my InTouch. You've got the newsletter. You've got a bunch of custom emails in a library that is always growing. And on top of that, you've got some great form emails if you would like to go into the campaigns and check out some of these as well that are also customizable. There's obviously the newsletter. There's a seasonal campaign, which is a great, easy go-to. Happy Halloween, Daylight Savings, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, etc. All you got to do is set it and forget it. Or again, you can come in and make some great changes and personalize it just like you do the newsletter. And then you can manage those campaigns under Manage Campaigns. You can also find any additional campaigns by hitting Add New Campaign. And there's all kinds of types in here for you to dive into and take a look at. Choose any template you'd like. You can see how many email steps there are, how many messages go out. You can tailor when you would like to have them set and what you would like all these messaging to include. And again, as you are reaching out, these ones, as you can see, cost $1.05 per contact. So always be aware, some of these campaigns will cost money, but the holiday ones and the newsletters are free, and everything being built in the email and video marketing library is free. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking and open up the floor to any questions that anybody has. Feel free to unmute yourself if you would like and ask away. I'm also going to go ahead and check the chat and see if there are any questions as well. Let's see here. Todd added a great note that I'm going to read out loud for everybody. Just a heads up, if your DRE license has recently been renewed, you will need to update in your profile, otherwise it will show as expired. So be sure to do that. I have a question here from Nadia. It says, is it possible to have text wrap around a placed image? Sorry, someone's knocking at my door. And the quick answer is no. There's ways. Hey. Oh, sorry. Y'all look the same, man. And I am back from our commercial break. So the short answer is no. There's not an easy way to do it. You can creatively block your text around an image, but it's a lot of work. You would essentially just have to place the top text and then your left margin and right margin text, left margin text, then the image, then the right margin text, and then the text below. So you basically build it out kind of as it gets placed. But again, the appeal from a consumer standpoint, I don't know if it kind of will force the eye to draw a lot of places. It's easy to think about how much cleaner it will be to just make everything more of a traditional format. I hope that answers your question. Are there any other questions? I'm going to, again, if you feel free to unmute yourself or feel free to put it in the chat. As I noted, I will send a recap to everybody with a link to the recording of this session. That recording